brands have started creating like lifestyle lines. So you'll have the same team, same manufacturer, but the patterns are gonna be like very like street style focused, like streetwear. You got the boxy cut, you have subtle designs. It's laid out pretty well for the brands to capitalize on making their like jerseys a little bit more fashionable.
That is Tony Magana, founder of The Football Boutique, a retail, cultural, and event space in Los Angeles. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Create Tomorrow podcast. I'm your host, Cassandra Napoli, head of consumer forecasting at WGSN. Every 2 weeks, I will take you on a journey to examine how trends are translated into aesthetics and product design. In this episode, we speak with Tony Magana, founder of The Football Boutique, a retail, cultural, and community space redefining football culture in Los Angeles. Together, we explore how football has evolved far beyond the sport to shape fashion, identity, belonging, and social connection. Ahead of the upcoming 2026 World Cup, we unpack what this cultural moment means for America in particular. Tony, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the Create Tomorrow podcast. Can you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about your career journey and what you're up to?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me, Cassandra. It's a pleasure. So my name is Tony Magana. I'm the founder of The Football Boutique, which started as a retailer reselling boutique brands in the soccer space, has now evolved into a brick and mortar, half retail space, half event space.
I think this sport is still relatively on the fringes here. I don't know if you would agree with that, but a recent YouGov study revealed that since mid-2022, pre-World Cup in Qatar, the amount of Americans who say they actively follow football has increased from 8% to 12%. Do you feel that there was maybe a gap in the market locally because LA is kind of a big soccer, fan base?
I've lived it for my whole life, so I didn't see it as a sport that was on the fringe because I was so deep in it. Like, it was all around me. I just assumed everyone was watching it and loved it as much as I did. I had a few reality checks. I'd walk into like a restaurant and like the biggest game in Europe was happening and I couldn't get anyone to like put it on the TV. So I did have those reality checks, but yeah, 2022, I think was a big year. We saw Messi win the World Cup, and I think his move to Miami, like those two things, I think played the biggest factor in just elevating, from 8 to 12% here in the States. I think really the kids tuned into that World Cup. And then I think Messi is just that bridge.
Your space sort of combines retail, leisure, culture, social connection. How do you design a store for more than just transactions?
It starts with building a community. I think people that followed the Football Boutique, I think associated us with just football culture. And how I got my start was really pop-ups. It was pulling up to the football event or the soccer event happening, right? So whether it was a big watch party or a big soccer tournament or what we're seeing now, these like street soccer tournaments, like I would pop up to those events. So I think the association started to happen where our community associated us with cool soccer events. And I think it was an easy transition to convert my space into a community event space too.
I wanted to ask about female fans because that's such a trend we've been tracking here at WGSN, this idea that women are getting really into sport. It's always been the case, right? There's always been female fans, but it's definitely on the rise, particularly in, the basketball scene. We've seen a lot of interest in rugby lately. Do you think that there's a large female fan base for soccer or football, as we want to call it? And are you seeing that sort of customer base come into your store?
Yeah, there's definitely an increase. I think, yeah, same thing around that like 2022 time. You get the NWSL really popping off. You get a team in LA. You start to see these global superstars in like a Trinity Rodman, where I think, they're becoming more mainstream. I think the football jersey trend also attracted more female fans. Like, You have tons of influencers, you know, putting up videos on how to style jerseys. So I think that really pulled a female audience definitely into our space. So we see more coming in to buy jerseys. They don't know what team it is, they don't know what player it is, but it looks cute. They style it cute, and it looks good.
Why I wanted to talk to you initially was because obviously the World Cup is emerging. It's within a couple of weeks, it'll be here. So we're filming this in late May, but in June, it will be the largest in events history. 104 matches held across 16 cities in the US, Mexico, and Canada. And over 6 million people are expected to attend, while a projected 6 billion viewers will engage globally, making it one of the most watched and culturally relevant events of the decade, really. With all of that said, what does the 2026 World Cup mean for football culture in America specifically? Going back to what I said initially, that spectatorship is up and it's on the rise.
I think parents are gonna, those that don't already follow it, are gonna tune in to see what it's all about. And I think that they're gonna get hooked. I think that's what happened in the '94 World Cup, right? A lot of people were not familiar with the sport. The World Cup comes to the States, they get hooked. We see a huge spike in youth football participation, and we've been riding that wave now for over 20 years. I think this is going to be another boost, because of the players, because of the spectacle. I think it's gonna really drive everything. More viewers, more participation. Both our men's league and women's league are growing, gaining more respect globally. So yeah, I think it's now more accessible if you want to catch a LAFC game or Galaxy game or an Angel City game. I mean, especially in LA, it's all here.
Yeah, for sure. Following this sort of massive cultural moment that's about to happen, what do you think we'll see from brands in terms of activating around soccer? You said that you've seen pretty much every day you turn and there's a new sort of activation that's emerging, a campaign, a product. But what is sort of exciting you about this moment from what you're seeing?
There's excitement because it really pushes the big sports brands to, put on their A game, right? Like we've already seen the Adidas commercial for the World Cup. So that's a big deal, right? Like in World Cup culture, it's like the ads that come with it. And you have your big players, you have your Adidas, you have your Nike, your Pumas. Like I think from a commercial standpoint, it really makes them elevate their game because they're all in competition with each other. But then you have, just regular corporations that really have no business in the space. And then they hire people that don't know the space. And it comes with like some cringy moments.
So that's a good question though. So like obviously the World Cup represents a lot of eyeballs, right? So a lot of people are attached to this cultural moment. So getting your brand in front of them is a big deal and it's an opportunity. How does a brand enter a space without being cringy? Like how can an unsuspecting brand outside of football culture be a part of this moment?
I think it takes years of like understanding and preparing your audience for it. What it feels like right now is like last month they're like, "Hey, we need to put a World Cup commercial out. Hey, we need like a World Cup activation. Like, let's do it. Who can we call on? Here's this agency that's done sports. All right, let's do something." Right? I think it's like about really understanding the space, figuring out who the players are.
Role do you intend the football boutique to play during the World Cup? Are you activating? Are you doing anything fun?
We're definitely activating. We're going to be putting out a schedule soon, but there's a lot of partner activations. So we're connecting with some of those, brands and trying to help them navigate the space and create a moment that's not cringy. Um, but outside of that, I really want us to just be accessible to everyday fans. One thing that has been disappointing about this World Cup is the shamelessness of like capitalizing on making as much money as possible. I've been fortunate enough to like go to a few World Cups, and it's never been less. accessible to your everyday fan. And and so I think that's what I want the football boutique is to be a place where we're not going to charge you. We actually want everything to we want to give you the food, the drinks, the jerseys. Like that's what we're working with these partners. It's like, all right, we're going to activate, but we're not charging. You need to provide an amazing experience for our guests, and that's what you can expect from our activations, right? You're going to come in, food's covered, drinks are covered, jerseys are covered. Like you're going to get free jerseys, you're going to get free shoes. Like that's what I'm hoping our legacy can be for this World Cup, because they're charging for a watch party, they're charging for fan zones. Like that's not what it's about.
I want to talk about football aesthetics because we've been seeing quite a bit of football culture kind of creep into fashion in the recent couple of years, right? What makes football culture visually distinct and desirable, maybe compared to other sports, even?
The designs, right? Like they're very unique in the colors, in the different cuts. I think that's you've seen a little bit of it with basketball. You've seen a little bit of it with like football, but I think what makes like soccer jerseys and soccer like fashion is that the designers have more creative freedom. You can add a collar, you can add drawstrings, you can change up the colors. You know, you we have three, sometimes four jerseys per team, right? So on the surface, I think just the design aspect, there's a little more freedom to explore different designs. We have training tops. We have it's crazy. So just from a design perspective, like on the surface, I think it's a design. But then you go deeper in like the history of some of these clubs, and you know, there's teams like Barcelona and Real Madrid, right? Those are like real political like issues, right? So it's people have a tie to that jersey because it represents more than just a team. It represents maybe a whole political movement. Whereas I don't think we get that with American sports. In the US, they're like franchises. So they can like pick up and move at any given point. You can't move a Barcelona like out of Barcelona. Like you couldn't, right? So I think that mixed with like the the design aspect um, really makes football jerseys unique because it's a better representation of who you are, right? Like, and I think that's what fashion is like an expression of who you are.
Do you think that so to go back to what you were saying in the beginning, you were like girls come in and they wear the jersey. They might not necessarily know who the player is. This is like describing me. But like it looks good and they look good and they're happy. And it's become this sort of like flex online, maybe. Why do you think football kits have become fashion objects beyond the fandom? So with those casual or even like unaware fans, basically.
Like we're starting to see like football players as like fashion icons.
Mm.
Like I think that that's played a role in it, which I don't think that was the case before. Yeah, I think for the casual fan, the diverse like they have so many options, right? You want a red jersey, you can find a red jersey. You want a lime green jersey, you can get a lime green jersey. You want, you know, pick the color. There's a jersey. There's stripes. There's checkers. There's so it's very versatile to maybe fit an aesthetic you're trying to obtain.
I think social media definitely has a part to play in like awareness and like making football, soccer have a sort of cool factor amongst young people who might not be active fans. I have seen also online though, have you seen Boots Only Summer? Could you define that for our audience? Because I'm not probably the best one to describe that.
I think it started as someone just trying to troll, but boots only summer was a trend that started when, you know, people wanted to wear their football boots out to like dinner. They just want like football boots are or cleats, soccer cleats, again aesthetically just so so cool in my opinion that people wanted to wear them because it was like, well, we can wear Jordans out. It's a basketball shoe. Like, why are we left out? Let's put our soccer shoes on, our cleats, our football boots, and head out. So the trend caught on, and then I thought it was silly because I grew up like where it was. I mean, it's still scary to run in cleats or to walk in cleats because you'll slip. But it's so crazy that the trend caught on that the manufacturers, your Adidas and your Nikes, like they put out cleats or they're putting out cleats that have like a clear sole that where you can still see the cleat, but it's like covered by a flat, like almost gel material. So now you really could wear like your boots out and about.
So in that case, soccer became a flex, then a silly meme or trolling behavior on the internet actually turned into product design, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, it's cool to see. I mean, it's crazy, and I never would have imagined it'd go this far, but it's cool.
You mentioned that there hasn't really been like soccer tastemakers the way that there are, basketball and football. Um, the NFL hired their first fashion editor to kind of create opportunities for American football stars, right? Um, basketball players walked, their tunnel fits are massive opportunities for brands. Is there an equivalent in soccer? Like, beyond Messi and Ronaldo, like, are there players that are, fashion tastemakers that are primed for campaigns with big brands on a global scale?
Hector Bellerin, Spanish footballer, huge in fashion. You've got the whole French national team. I mean, they they always show out. Like French national team players. You got the Italian players too. Just I think in these like meccas of fashion, I think they're doing it. I think better than most.
Do you think that there's like the World Cup will kind of make soccer more of a faction friendly space because of just the sheer number of people looking and maybe the opportunities? Like, are there tunnel fits for soccer? I don't know. I've never actually watched a soccer game, which makes me a total fraud, but that's a product of me being American, I think. But do you think that there is like, do they walk onto the field and are they dressed in clothes? And is that an opportunity for brands to kind of lean in and not, take ownership, take stock?
So there are definitely like tunnel fits. And what's crazy about the sport of football, soccer, it's you like the whole world is playing it, and so you have different approaches, right? So for example, in Europe, some teams have banned the tunnel fit because it's too distracting. So it's like you guys are gonna wear your proper like club warm-ups. So then the tunnel fit happens like before they get to the stadium, right? Like not as they're like so then people are like, okay, what are they wearing like before they are not allowed to wear what they're supposed to wear? And then, for example, in the NWSL, like you have brands that have leaned into it. So, for example, the tunnel fit at Angel City is now like sponsored by Anthropology, right? So you definitely have that same moment, and different countries have approached it differently. Some have completely banned it, and others have leaned into it.
You were saying that there's jerseys from the 90s and they're distinct, right? And there's jerseys from today and theirs are distinct. And I think nostalgia is such a hot topic. We've been tracking that for the last like 10 years or so. How do brands balance nostalgia and heritage of the club with creating something that feels contemporary and new and that people will want?
Right off the bat, with football jerseys, soccer jerseys, you have like the player version. Those are like the most
Mhm.
technologically advanced. You have the fan version, and those are same jersey but a bit looser, not the technology in like the player version. And then now you have like this lifestyle like option. So brands have started creating like lifestyle lines. So you'll have the same team, same manufacturer, but the patterns are gonna be like very like street style focused, like streetwear. You got the boxy cut, you have subtle designs. Like it's laid out pretty well for the brands to capitalize on making their like jerseys a little bit more fashionable.
I want to get into sort of the future now. If we could transport into the future, maybe 10 years or so, what will football culture in America in particular look like?
I like to go back and like look at like other sports for a reference. In this case, like basketball. Um, so if you, I don't know if you remember, but it was like early 2000s and everyone was wearing like basketball jerseys, right? It became like the hot fashion item, and then it became like throwback jerseys, and then and that trend kind of went away. And so that's where that's my reference, right? It's like, is this the fashion trend that we had in the early 2000s with basketball jerseys? Because you saw them in like on runways and in music videos and everywhere. So I hope that that's not the case. I hope that the trend doesn't die off anytime soon. But I'm hoping that, yeah, 10 years from now you still have brands trying to make a better like player jersey with pouring money into like the technology of it, the innovation behind jerseys, and then also leaning into like the lifestyle portion of it. So I hope it continues to grow like we've been seeing it.
Is the future of retail actually events, clubs, experience, watch parties, activations around the World Cup, sort of like what you're doing at the Football Boutique? Or is it something else?
I think physical retail, yeah, it has to be more than just retail. If you're just looking for retail as a consumer, you can find anything you need online. But what is really going to drive maybe someone like me to a brick and mortar is going to be, yeah, the other stuff. It's going to be the workshops, it's going to be the events, it's going to be the galleries. So physical retail, I think, like has to innovate.
As always, I ask all of my guests, who is somebody, it could be a business, it could be a person that's creating a new version of tomorrow that you find deeply inspiring. So I wanted to know who your pick is.
I would have to go with David Beckham. He started as a player and then really pivoted, right? He became a fashion icon, really embraced that like celebrity, and then made a very questionable business decision at the height of his career to move to the States. I think recognizing like the bigger picture, and the way he structured his deal was like proved, the visionary that he was. He, in his contract, was able to purchase a MLS franchise in the future at the current market rate. So I think, pivoting from one thing to another, building a brand, and then becoming a real businessman, like when he was able to finally get Miami FC going, or Inter Miami finally going, and then to see what he's done at Inter Miami, by bringing Messi and winning the championship in his first couple seasons. Like, I think he's what you mentioned, right? He's creating the next, like the tomorrow, and it's someone in the soccer space. It's someone that I grew up watching. So yeah, that would be my guy.
Thank you to my guest, Tony Magana, founder of the Football Boutique, a retail, cultural, and event space in Los Angeles. If you're a WGSN subscriber, look out for more trends at WGSN.com. And if you're not a subscriber, please come and discover our services. We'll be back with our next episode soon. In the meantime, you can catch the CEO of WGSN, Carla Buzzacchi, next week on our other podcast, Lives of Tomorrow. I'm your host, Cassandra Napoli. Be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast, and see you next time.